Good morning or afternoon. Welcome to Quick Connect. Today is October 20th, and we are getting ready for our regular Tuesday talk. Today, as we begin our Quick Connect, we will be having Jennifer Leinbach from the Pennsylvania DCED and Ben Franklin Technology Authority. She will be joining us to talk about manufacturing in Pennsylvania. But before we begin, I just have a few notes to let everybody know that this session is being recorded and we are streaming live on Facebook. So if you have any questions or comments, be sure to be mindful that we are recording. So to that point, if you do have any questions or comments throughout the talk, you can either drop them into the Zoom Q&A feature, or you can drop them onto the comment section of Facebook. So we look forward to joining you look forward to you joining us today as we talk about manufacturing in Pennsylvania. You're joining us today as part of Penn State SBDC services. For Penn State SBDC, we do one-on-one consulting, which is a free service. We also do training, information, resources, and referrals. So these are just some of the areas that we are assisting small businesses. If you're a small business and you're looking to either start, grow, or prosper, you can reach out to us and get in touch with us. If you're on Facebook, you can find our contact information on our page, but we'll also be sharing the information at the end of the chat. So today, some of the topics that we'll be talking about is what is manufacturing in Pennsylvania? How many businesses in Pennsylvania really participate in manufacturing? The challenges that are in manufacturing right now, resources for businesses in Pennsylvania, such as experts, resource centers, grants, competitions, organizations, seed capital, and much more. So we're really looking forward to this talk. There's lots of information that we're going to be sharing today. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our guest speaker, Jennifer Leinbach. Would you like to tell a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Hi, well, good afternoon, Elizabeth, and thank you for this opportunity. It's just really fun to be with you on this, a format I haven't used before, so I might be a little nervous, but I'm really happy to be here with your audience. I work for the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development. As an executive director in the Office of Technology and Innovation, I oversee the Commonwealth's technology-based economic development grant programs, and I also serve as the executive director of the Ben Franklin Technology Development Authority. Prior to coming to the Commonwealth, I was working for a large chamber of commerce that merged with a manufacturers association. These were two very successful member-based organizations with very different needs. The Manufacturers Association was concerned about global markets, supply chains, trade policies, the strength of the US dollar, while the majority of the chamber members were less than 10 employees, and they're looking for networking and marketing opportunities. I had the privilege of serving as the staff liaison to the board of directors for workforce development. I led the technology committee and became the Keystone Innovation Zone coordinator to connect startup tech companies with the resources of our local colleges and universities. And I share that because I want you to know that I could not do what I do today without having that experience working with businesses of all types and learning firsthand their needs.
Yes, and I had the pleasure of being able to talk with you last week, and I just know that you have so much of a wealth of information just from your experiences and the different roles that you handle. So I'm really looking forward to being able to offer this chat to our small businesses in our network. So if we can get started a little bit and just kind of defining what is manufacturing in Pennsylvania, what does that look like for small businesses, particularly in the Commonwealth?
Sure. Well, every day there's more than 500,000 Pennsylvanians who go to work and they make things. So when we think of manufacture, we're thinking of products that they make. So they're taking something, they're either altering it mechanically or physically or chemically. They're transforming materials, substances, and components into a new product.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, and in Pennsylvania is kind of a hot spot for manufacturing. How many businesses in PA are considered to be in manufacturing?
Well, right now we have over 2,800. I mean, that's a lot. And they come in. There are large ones, there are small ones, but there are 2,800, and really every community, almost every community has a manufacturer located, and it might not be a really big one, but it's an important driver of our economy.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as we discuss more about the resources for manufacturing, I know that there have been some challenges, especially due to COVID. Every small business has been faced with challenges since since the pandemic has come into our country. So, what are some challenges that manufacturers have seen in the most recent months, and even just in general?
I think it's the same three challenges, no matter whether it's a pandemic that's upon us. And that's what's so cool about manufacturers. I mean, their whole life, they're always adapting to circumstances, either within their control or beyond their control. But the three biggest ones that we see is, number one, a skilled workforce. There's always a great demand, especially for entry-level workers. And we kind of see that based on two other issues. Number one, there are a lot of older employees who've worked in that manufacturing facility for 20, 30, 40 years, and they're beginning to retire. And we're actually seeing all these looming retirements as the silver tsunami that's hitting manufacturing. And at the same time, our high school students seem to not have as much interest as they did in previous generations. And I think there's a couple reasons for that as well, too. I think we have this misconception that going to work in a manufacturing facility is dirty, or it's low pay, or it's boring. And nothing could be farther from the truth. That, and we have sometimes, first generation parents who have graduated from college drill into their son or daughter, you have to go to college to be successful, to have a good paying job. And as a result, we have really good technical, high skilled jobs that are going vacant, and we need to combat that some way. The other issue that we see is revolving supply chains, the suppliers of components. And sometimes, not just China, but other countries, the quality isn't always consistent when we import those components, and sometimes the shipments aren't reliable. And this is something that COVID-19 has definitely had a profound impact. It has lengthened that time for shipment. It's been inconsistent. Even today, there's sometimes a backlog and a wait for certain components, specifically in the automotive and vehicle industries. And then the third struggle that we see that manufacturers face is really trying to maintain a competitive edge in light of new technologies. How can you adopt new technology? How can you maintain efficiency? How can they blend old equipment with new equipment, or new software with old equipment? And it's really important that they're constantly innovating.
Yes, and innovation is a really important part to manufacturing, from what I've been hearing, especially with my conversations with you. So, what resources do businesses have in Pennsylvania as far as working in manufacturing? Is there a lot of incentive here in Pennsylvania?
There really is. You can't pick a better place to be a manufacturer than Pennsylvania. We're so fortunate that we have 7 industrial resource centers that provide support to the manufacturing community. And they have a great website. It's easy to remember because it's pamade.org. And they specialize in providing technical assistance to the manufacturing sector by really assisting companies with bottom line strategies, whether it's productivity enhancement, elimination of waste, new improved products, market differentiation, and workforce development strategies. Each of these 7 centers, they have engineering innovation experts who have a Six Sigma green belts or black belts and lean practitioners. So I would encourage first any manufacturer to get to know and find their local regional IRC.
Yeah, and I just did drop into the chat on both Facebook and on Zoom the link to that, so that if you're joining us online, you can click through and just look at that resource right now. How How about grant programs? Are there grant programs out there for manufacturing businesses?
Sure, absolutely. Uh, Governor Wolf in 2014 announced the Pennsylvania Manufacturing Initiative, and it has three components, three grant um, programs that really try to address those three challenges that I just mentioned. One of them is the Manufacturing PA IRC program. So I mentioned those industrial resource centers. They're funded sort of a blend from federal funds and then Pennsylvania state budget funds to fund their operations. The second is a new program, relatively new, that was established in the last couple of years. It's called Training to Career. And it's a really cool, unique program to provide skill training to individuals with barriers, whether that barrier is education or low income or formerly incarcerated. Maybe it's physical handicaps, to equip them with the skills that they need to fill those entry-level positions that manufacturers are constantly telling us that they can't find that skilled workforce. Well, what we do is an entity works with one or more manufacturers who kind of develop a skills list of, here's the potential employees that apply to us, here's the skills that they lack and why we can't hire them. So they put together a short-term work training program free of charge to skill these individuals so they will become employable right away. And there's a lot of programs going on in Pennsylvania right now. One of my favorites is called Learn While You Earn. Sometimes students, I hate to say this, don't have the best experience when they're in high school. And they look at going to college as something, no, that's not for me, I've had enough. So they'll kind of look at a training and career center with that same viewpoint. So what some manufacturers in the Johnstown area have done, they've come up with they have a great need for welders. So rather than send students to a training center to learn welding, they've opened up some of these manufacturers, some of the areas to train them welding. So they're learning right where they potentially will become employed. They get to know what the environment's like, what it's like working within a facility, what the work entails. At the same time, they're learning these skills, and it's been phenomenally successful. Where I would say probably 90% of those who go through that training program are hired right away.
Wow, that's awesome. And now, is there incentive for um, the small business to have a program like that, or is incentive more for the student, or are there incentives on both ends?
Well, really, the manufacturers, whether large or small, they're detailing, here's the skills that we need. And so they partner, they might contribute maybe some time for them to tour their facility, to talk about who they are, what they are, but really knowing that you've defined, here's the missing skills, whether it's digital tools or safety, or frankly, it's not always a digital tool. Sometimes it's conflict resolution. Learning how to work in that environment, they're getting students first crack at students who go through this program to interview them and potentially hire them. So it's a really good mix. I will say too that under that same program and previously under other programs, we've funded a project called What's So Cool About Manufacturing. And there are these contests almost all over the Commonwealth now. It started back in 2012. This is a competition, teams of students from 7th and 8th grades. It's a video competition. So they go with GoPro cameras and they go into these manufacturing facilities that they partner with, and they create a script and they interview and they produce this video that talks about what it's like to work there, what skills they need, interviewing workers right there, how do you like working here? And then they compete with these videos for prizes, the school districts do. And that's really helping to overcome that, that preconceived idea that working in manufacturing is old and dirty and not skilled. And it's really showing there are great jobs, fun jobs, skilled jobs just waiting for students that don't require 4 years. Maybe you need 1 year or 2 years or just to go to a technical school. So that's really helped address that challenge. And then our last program is the Innovation Grant Program that I oversee, that really tries to address that need to constantly innovate to maintain a competitive edge, and that's manufacturing innovation.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that through that program alone is how we got linked up, which is really great. So that program intends to help small businesses and research facilities. Can you talk about a little bit how that works?
Sure, sure. So this is where we focus right in the manufacturer. So they will come to us and they'll say, I have this need for a product or process improvement. And maybe they've worked with a university in the past to develop to meet that critical need. But if they haven't, that's even better, because on our website, and it's manufacturingpa.org, they can fill out an inquiry form to say, hey, I have this need. I've never worked with a university or a college before. Can you connect me to students and a researcher who have expertise, whether it's a plastics problem or it's a new form of manufacturing. Maybe it's glass, maybe it's testing, maybe they need, they're considering moving to 3D manufacturing. We can connect them, and what the program does, it engages our best and brightest students at our colleges and universities who will devote a full academic year devoted to meeting that need, whether it's a process improvement. So they'll do the research under the direction of their professor to come up with that new process or test that new material. And as a result, at the end of the project, the manufacturer has all this research and development that maybe as a small manufacturer, they don't have an R&D lab. They might not have the equipment or the testing facility, or quite frankly, a small manufacturer can't shut down their manufacturing line to make a new test. We can do all of this offline in a lab with those students to meet their needs, and we have found it to be very exciting.
Absolutely. That sounds like a great opportunity for small businesses. So thank you. And I did just drop that information also into the Zoom chat as well as the Facebook chat. So if you're looking to find that website, manufacturingpa.org, I really I encourage any of the attendees to just browse through the website. There's so a wealth of information there. So speaking of opportunities, can you describe some of the organizations you're involved in and how they contribute to manufacturing in PA? I know you've dropped the name of Ben Franklin Technology Partners. We're very familiar with Ben Franklin. They have an office in our building when we were in our building. But could you tell us a little bit about these organizations? We'll start with Ben Franklin.
Sure. Well, like the RCs, there are 4 regional Ben Franklin partners. They're headquartered in Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, State College, where you are, and the Lehigh Valley, and they have many regional offices. So you can find the office closest to you at benfranklin.org. It doesn't have a real long website name. That's the beauty of all this. And their focus is really on the creation and expansion of leading high growth companies through innovative application and commercialization of advanced technologies and practices. They help startup companies with seed capital. They make investments directly to the companies. But just as important as that startup capital is the business and technical assistance they provide. And that assistance includes collaborating with universities, introductions to other investors for follow-on funding. Many of the centers host business competitions and venture fairs to introduce their client companies to venture capital managers. And this is critically important for our PA tech companies to scale up. The partners own, manage, and closely work with accelerators and incubators spread all across the state. They run startup boot camps. The partners have been doing this for almost 40 years, and they truly are viewed as the gold standard worldwide. Pennsylvania is the envy of many states for this program alone. But of course, I know stories always really help share what do they do. So I'd like to tell you about a company called Radius Corporation. It's a young company that designs and manufactures personal care products that include eco-friendly toothbrushes, organic toothpaste, and accessories. It's a woman-owned company located in Berks County, and they're really dedicated to to identify innovative and sustainable manufacturing approaches to everyday products. Its Source toothbrush uses replacement head technology with a handle that, get this, is made from recyclable dollar bills, paper, and wood, and it
Wow.
reduced waste by 93%. So the
Wow.
Ben Franklin partners connected this company with the Plastics Manufacturing Center at Penn College to address a breakage problem they were having. And then they worked with Lehigh University's Enterprise Systems Center on facility optimization. And, so I mentioned about working with startup companies, which is what the Ben Franklin seemed to always be known best for. But at the same time, they help established manufacturer adopt emerging technology by connecting them again to university resources. So there's a company in Schuylkill County called Blashak Coal Corporation. It's a mining operation that prepares and helps mine that anthracite. But at the same time, they also have found that they have rare earth elements in those materials. So they're working with the university right now to help develop a process for extracting those rare earth elements from their anthracite-based materials.
Wow. Wow. So that's great. Not only helping startups, but also, if you're a current manufacturer and you're looking to find some innovation, or you can definitely reach out to Ben Franklin. I know that they really work with their businesses too to get them through each of the processes. Like, let's really think through this idea. Let's do some financial planning. Let's look into the idea, not just on the surface. So they work you through that process, which is really nice. So when we spoke the other day, you also mentioned another resource in Pennsylvania that it was very new to me, and I think it's a great resource. Can you describe this resource, the life science greenhouses?
Sure. So the life science greenhouses, there are 3 of them. They're located in southeastern PA, BioAdvance Life Sciences Greenhouse of Central PA, and the Pittsburgh Life Science Greenhouses in Western Pennsylvania. And like the Ben Franklins, they capture the innovation and potential of the life sciences industry, and they nurture that same potential with critical early stage funding and sector specific business expertise. So whether it's a new drug, or it's therapeutics, or it's medical devices, they really know that sector better than anyone else, and they connect them and help them. A company that they've recently helped is called Infrascan. Right now we're in the middle of football season, is just launched. And this Infrascan makes a handheld device to detect hematoma after a trauma. So we're thinking about, head injuries and concussions. But this same device is really critically important on the battlefield for our military to be able to early detect within moments if a potential brain bleed is occurring, and to help know immediately we need to get this person to life-saving services at a trauma center.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. And you mentioned a little of work that has been done in these greenhouses in relation to COVID. Has there been some?
Sure, absolutely. They're definitely all working for drug discovery. Some they also will work with testing as well. Through the Manufacturing Innovation Program, we used a small amount of funds that we hadn't been able to deploy to address the challenges of COVID, whether it's testing or antibodies or new treatments, or quite frankly, even creating a new device to replace respirators in hospitals that are very, very expensive, very complicated. And we really relied on our life science greenhouses to help us evaluate those proposals, to spread the word to their clients.
Very nice. Yes, that I can see the importance, especially now, towards that. So, shifting gears just a tiny bit, you had also mentioned another resource when we talked the other day about the PA Infrastructure Technology Alliance. This is a little bit of a different focus than most of the manufacturing type of resources we've discussed. Can you describe that and how it's a bit different?
Sure. And, I joke with my colleagues, and I tell them that I work with all the cool kids, that we sit at the cool kids table. And it's primarily because of our focus on technology. And again, this program has a much broader scope, not just manufacturing, it's infrastructure. So when you think of infrastructure, you might think roads, bridges, but you should also think about energy and telecommunications and controls. And so this program is a collaboration between the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and Lehigh University. They have a Center for Advanced Technology for Large Structural Systems, and Carnegie Mellon University, which has an engineering research accelerator. So PETA's research and education projects involve Pennsylvania companies first and foremost, and our faculty and students. And probably a good example of that would be one that we did regarding energy. You know, buildings consume almost 40% of the total energy in the United States. So owners and facility managers are always trying to make their buildings more energy efficient to lower costs, and quite frankly, to minimize their environmental impact. Airports in particular have a strong desire to lower their energy use due to their large energy footprint and the fact that they operate 20%. PETA funding, Pittsburgh National Airport partnered with Carnegie Mellon University researchers to address the airport's desire to lower their energy use. And they did this by creating and installing sensors and controls to better manage that heating, cooling, and lighting at gate areas when no one is there. And so as a result of this project, they've been able to save almost $1 million a year in energy costs.
And you can't beat that just from implementing some new technology. So that's a great resource. Okay, there was another benefit that you mentioned to me, that particularly in Pennsylvania for manufacturing companies, and these are set up as Keystone Innovation Zones. So what are Keystone Innovation Zones?
Well, I know I shouldn't have favorite programs, but I will just say that this is the program that introduced me to TBED. 15 years ago, I had no idea what technology-based economic development was. We refer to it as TBED, but this was a program that was begun by Governor Ed Rendell, and it was the idea of creating knowledge communities surrounded basically around our colleges and universities, knowledge neighborhoods that would connect academic resources with tech startups to really help them grow, with the idea being that if we help these companies that have the most potential to use technology that would grow rapidly, that we're going to create jobs that will be of interest to recent graduates of our colleges and universities, really targeting them. So the idea that, you know, we're going to combat brain drain. We're also going to bolster the vibrant economies right around our colleges and universities. So it's open to startup technologies that are 7 years or less in age. They have to be located in a Keystone Innovation Zone, so it's a tight geography. You can find that through our dcd.pa.gov website to locate those zones. You can just do a search on that, Keystone Innovation Zones. It'll show you maps and who to connect with there. But it's really good, and they offer saleable tax credits. So it begins in their third year of operations based on year-over-year revenue. So if they're successful and their revenues are increasing each year, they can take 50% of that up to $100,000 and apply for a tax credit. Well, what's great about this program is a startup company, they usually don't have much of a tax liability. So they're able to take that tax credit and sell it to somebody who does need a tax credit, usually through a broker, and at about 90 to 95 cents on the dollar. So if they get a $100,000 tax credit, they can sell it for up to $93,000, $95,000, and then use that cash to infuse back into their startup. So maybe they need to hire more employees or buy new equipment or materials, and it really helps accelerate their growth. It's an exciting program. Again, it's what brought me to DCD, and I just think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Yes, yeah, actually my husband and I own an engineering firm, and we have taken advantage of those tax credits, and you're right, it just gives extra working capital to help with expansion and growth, yes, it's been a really great program. I've seen it at work. Can we talk a little bit more about the release of the RFP that we met on, or the request for proposal? Can we talk a little bit more about where to find that again?
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks. So again, it's on that manufacturingpa.org website. And what's nice about that website, you can see there's a short video at the landing page that interviews a manufacturer and a student that worked on 2 different projects to get a feel for what it's like. The proposal templates are there. It's a short proposal. It's only 3 or 4 pages. Again, the projects range in size from $25,000 to $70,000. And the university applies on behalf of the manufacturer. And again, if you're a manufacturer and you haven't worked with a university, we have a little inquiry form that you describe what your need is. And what's neat about this is we'll take that form and we'll disseminate it to all the colleges and universities that have worked with us in the program to date. And that's about 13. It includes all of Pennsylvania's 7 leading research institutions, are engineering focused. And they'll send it through their faculty to find who has that expertise. And that faculty member will respond to that inquiry saying, well, here's what we have. Here's my students. Here's our facilities. Here's where I think we could go with to assist you. And the manufacturer can pick from those responses who they'd like to work with. Call all of them if you want, and work it out, the details, and submit the project on their behalf.
Wow, it sounds like a great opportunity if it's the right fit for your business. Okay, let's finish up with one last question. What other resources or information do you have for PA small businesses, either in manufacturing businesses looking to start in this space, or even for small businesses looking to partner with manufacturing companies?
Well, if you have a local SBDC, definitely go there first. And I mean that with all seriousness. Our SBDCs are wonderful, providing so much advice, so much mentoring, so much of it free of charge as well, too. I would definitely go there. But if you're looking for a more comprehensive list of all the resources, I would say our Pennsylvania Business One-Stop Shop, and this is relatively new. It's at business.pa.gov. It's an online guide with information, checklists, resources, everything you need to know about doing business in Pennsylvania, whether it's to plan, to register, to operate, to grow, a complete library of forms, and a call center for live help.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great resource that we refer a lot of clients to as well. And, at the beginning of the call, I mentioned that we are in one of our missions, or one of our services, is to make referrals. So if you start with the PA SBDC or the Penn State SBDC, we will hook you up with people that are working on programs like the ones that Jennifer have talked through, if we find you to be a good fit with them. So thank you, Jennifer. If you could just stay on for a moment, I have some final finish up questions at the end, but I'm going to invite Hisham on now. So Hisham, if you'd like to join us. Hisham was going to give us some resources that are more local to our 4 counties. Hisham, do you want to tell us a little bit about some of those resources that you've researched for this chat today?
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth, for having me. Sure. So what I'm going to be talking about is the market space, the makerspace. A makerspace is simply a workshop that has tools to be used by anyone who is interested in manufacturing something, or somebody who has an idea that he wants to work on, and he doesn't have the tools. He would use those spaces to be able to do it. So the first one I'll be talking about is the Rivet. The purpose of this organization is to provide the community with a collaborative workshop. The workshop layout is a space that is accessible through classes or shop access passes. For some example of these spaces, for example, this is Julie's Station, a plastic lab with 3D printing, and textile studios, among many others. So to access the shop floor, one can either take classes or purchase a pass. and all information is found on their website, which I think Elizabeth will be posting in
Yep, I
the
just did.
chat. And there's also the Makespace. It's kind of close to the river. It's kind of the same concept. The Makespace is another organization that provides the community with tools that are hard to get or expensive. These are like welding machines, CNCs, big machines that make it makes these tools accessible for anyone who's interested in creating something. The Makespace not only provide the tools but also the fabrication equipment and recycle the resources. So if you need like a certain material, they can provide it for you. There is a membership fee as well, and you can find this information on their website as well. There's the Learning Factory at Penn State. It's close, but it's not the same as the previous two. This space is a space that provides equipment and expertise for students with hands-on experience to supplement their course and capstone design. The Learning Factory provides a university/industry partnership for student design projects that benefit clients and industrial sponsors. The engineering students will tackle world problems here and which are sponsored by clients. So a client will contact the university and they will make a project for a student, which the student can then work on. This could be to use this. To be able to use this, they have to submit a proposal and a project, which has to be assessed by university as well. It's a great way to connect with, like Jennifer was talking, to connect the industry and the community or the students to be able to take them into the industry and to hire these students into the industry. It gives them a hands-on experience. There's also the PCT Marketplace, is Pennsylvania Commonwealth Community Technology Technical School Marketplace. It's a Pennsylvania College of Technology, my apologies. It's also a maker space that is designed for students. This space is free for student, faculty, staff. This area is a great resource for business owners who are looking for students that have some technical skills. And finally, there is the Bucknell University. The Bucknell University has the engineering development services that is in partnership with the Bucknell SBDC. They offer specialty development services with resources and capabilities, including computer-aided design and 3D printing. But not only that. Here, any business startup or small business can contact the SBDC. The SBDC will then help them with assessing the market for their product, develop a plan, and guidance through the technology service intake form. So they have to go through the SBDC, go through those motions, and then be able to use the Bucknell University. And Bucknell University, development service. And
Wow.
That's it. Yeah.
These are services that can help you explore an idea or help you learn to kind of, reach at a university. These are services that we would refer some of our clients to if you're working with the Penn State SBDC, so more local to us. But we also connect with Jennifer's, many of the ones that Jennifer was referring to as well. So I think I've dropped about 20 links into the chats today between Facebook and Zoom. So lots of resources there. I hope, for anybody listening live or referencing this chat, that you click through these resources and reach out to us or any of them if you need to connect. So I'd like to finish up our talk today, as I always do, with just 3 fun questions. So Jennifer, if you want to come back on, we call these are rapid fire questions. This is how we finish our talk. And we'll start with this one. And Jennifer, we'll let you go first. If the audience walked away from today's session with one key takeaway, what would you want that to be?
The Pennsylvania is a great place to start a business. And if you've got that itch to think about starting a business, contact these resources and get started on that journey.
Yes. I was in a car with a friend the other day and she's listing off like 6 different ideas she had. And some of them, over the past 20 years, and some of them had been done by somebody since then. And, you're exactly right. It's a great place to pursue those ideas and pursue those passions. We have lots of resources and a lot of ways to make it easier. So that's a great tip. Hisham, how about you? What would you suggest would be a great takeaway from today's session?
A great takeaway, I think, is that innovation matters in any field. Try always to look for the next big thing. Ask yourself, how can a system be improved or be more efficient. And always be looking for that new way to reduce cost and increase your efficiency.
Absolutely. I tell my kids that all the time. I want the next generation to be smarter than my generation. So that's a great tip as well. Innovation is key. Okay, Hisham, we'll give this one to you since you're unmuted and kind of live right now. Who is your favorite entrepreneur and why?
So it's kind of a cliche answer. So Jeff Bezos is kind of, everybody knows Jeff. It's a cliche because he built his company around the customer. And this is what business owners should know. Like, the customer is your end goal. We do everything for the customer. So he made, like, you know how fortunate he is. Like, so he did the right thing. And it's an example for everybody to really think about their business in terms of customers and what they want and know what they really want.
Yes, that has been a common theme, especially now that we've gone through COVID, that you really need to know your customers and what they want so that you can continue to operate and grow.
Excuse me, sorry about that.
That's okay. That's okay. I was worried my dog was going to start barking during the talk as well. All right, Jennifer. So same question. Who's your favorite entrepreneur and why?
Sure. So I have to pick somebody locally who I know. His name is Barry Schlauk. He is the owner and founder of Schlauk Excavating. He and his wife started their business with like $400 and one piece of equipment doing site excavation. And today he's one of the largest excavator in the Commonwealth, 200 plus employees. But what really impresses me is that he believes in entrepreneurship so much. He goes out, he's a frequent speaker all across the country on this, but he and his company, they're safety first, and they truly take exceptional care for their employees to make them feel valued every day. And I think that's so important, that I just love his enthusiasm and how he's so encouraging to other would-be entrepreneurs.
That's awesome. And that's the American dream, right? Starting with nothing and making it into something huge. And also your employees are your biggest resource. So, focusing on employees is such an important part of entrepreneurism. So we're going to finish up with our last question. And this one's kind of broad, but maybe do you have your favorite small business experience? Could you narrow it to just one?
Okay, well, all the women on the call are going to appreciate this. Really and truthfully, I'm a spa girl. You give me a nice manicure and a pedicure, and I'm yours. I mean, I just appreciate that. I just after going 8 months without a manicure or pedicure, I just went last week, and so yes, right now that is my very, very favorite small business experience.
Yeah, and that industry was some of the hardest hit. I know that I have a lot of clients that, were really struggling to figure out how to reopen safely. And so the fact that you can get back in there and it be safe is a great experience for anyone, for sure. Well, thank you, Jennifer. Hisham, same question. Can you describe your favorite small business experience?
Sure. So when I worked with Universal Metal Products, I was kind of in the management role. I really enjoy it because you are put the owner, or if you are working a small business, you put on many hats. So it's very fast paced. You have to be involved with accounting, marketing, operations, and I really enjoy it. Like, this is what I enjoy is knowing a lot, learning a lot, and then going forward like with ideas and trying to develop, always find new problems and try to fix them, whether it's in finance or trying to find customers or in operations. So this is kind of one of my favorite experience with small businesses, was like having multiple hats, wearing multiple hats.
Yeah, so it seems like you like the energy of a company that's doing multiple things. Good experiences, great speakers. Thank you both so much for joining today. I'm going to finish us up by sharing what we're going to be doing next week on Quick Connect. But I do want to start by thanking Jennifer Leinbach for joining us. She, when I started talking to her, I was really surprised by the amount of information that she was connected into. So not only did I learn something, but I hope our audience learned something as well. So thank you so much, Jennifer, and Hisham as well, for sharing all our, some local resources. But of course, if you are a business in Pennsylvania, we can help you connect with any of the resources that we've mentioned today. Thank you again for joining us. Next week on Quick Connect, we are hitting all the October kind of business themes, and it's actually Women Business Month, so as well as Manufacturing Month. But next week we will be doing a showcase of women-owned businesses. That will be a really great showcase to connect with. We're going to be taking women from our 4 counties and talking about what it's like to own a business as a woman. So join us next week, same time, Tuesday at noon. We will be having about 5 or 6 guest speakers on, so that's something to look forward to. Today we mentioned how to connect with the SBDC. It's been dropped into the chat as well as on the comment section of Facebook, but here's our information again. We are in business to help businesses start, grow, and prosper. We're a nonprofit organization, so all our services are free. Sometimes there may be a small fee for some courses that we teach, but right now we've been operating on a really low cost budget. So everything we're doing is virtual and free. You can reach us at sbdc.psu.edu or give us an email or a phone call. We are not in our offices. We're all working remote. Lucky for us too, we have a great marketing team that really pushes out a lot of information for small businesses. So resources such as you found today, as well as resources for economic recovery for small businesses and different events going on throughout the state, as well as our center, are shared a few times a day. We're hitting up the social media sites. So you can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and on Twitter, and just follow us on those sites so that you can be up to date with the most recent information. Again, thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next week on Quick Connect.